Today we're reviewing a book by Venice Bloodworth called Key to Yourself. And I first was introduced to this book 30 years ago. It's kind of like what the book says. It's about yourself. It's about we are as people. And actually, if you ever watched the movie The Secret or any book about law of attraction, spirituality, this book kind of falls in line with that line of thinking. It was a very influential book for me. It's about 30 some chapters. Each chapter is maybe 2 to 5 pages. And what was very interesting about the book, I've probably read it 50 times, looked at it over and over again, studied it. Every sentence almost is not wasted. There's not a lot of fluff in this. It's something that almost needs to be studied. In fact, I'm kind of excited about doing this book because even though I received this book 30 years ago, read many books about this subject for the last 30 years, you can constantly learn. And I'm constantly growing myself. And I think this is the basis for people who have an interest in law of attraction, talking about today's issues with the mind. I think it really ties into this mental health epidemic that everybody seems to talk about. And I think it's very important. I mean, the root cause of unhappiness or discontent or anxiety really comes from a lack of really understanding who you are. And so I think, stepping back and really getting in depth with this is very important. In fact, I'm going to actually be looking at this book and breaking it down one chapter at a time. So this first review is just on the very first chapter, which is only 3-4 pages long. But like I said, every sentence is full of knowledge. There's a lot you can take out of every sentence. So I think it'd be very good to kind of slow down and get to the basics. I was also influenced to this book came to mind after the last review that we did. The last review that we did was by an author called Brian Johnson called Don't Die. And if you look back at that, the basic premise of the book was, it was kind of a fictional look of the future, how AI, robotics will kind of affect our thinking, kind of take over. And it almost seemed like in that book that he was kind of giving more power to technology over spirituality and God. And I thought that this book would be a kind of a good counter to that, because I think there's dangers into that line of thinking. I mean, technology is going to be more and more powerful. Robotics is going to get more and more advanced. And if you're not really taught how to think, you're not really taught about spirituality, you can kind of get lost to the technology and almost kind of lose your soul. So I thought that this book review is very timely and it is needed. Hopefully it'll affect a lot of different people in a positive way. So the very first chapter is called Thought Law. The first chapter is probably the most important chapter. What is thought law? The basic premise of thought law is that everything is first a thought. It was that way in the Bible. When God first created the heavens and the earth, it was first a thought. Everything follows. Thought comes first. It sets certain things in motion, and then you get the results. If you really think about it, pretty much everything that mankind has accomplished, anything that you've accomplished, it was first a thought. Well, we also have control of our thoughts. And so thoughts are powerful. And if thoughts are so powerful and they are the baseline for everything in your life, wouldn't the study or spending some time with your thoughts and understanding how your thoughts affect things, how they affect things, how they affect your emotions, how they affect how you feel, how they affect the results in your life, wouldn't spending some time learning this law, wouldn't it be important? So one quote in this particular chapter where she's kind of describing the importance of thought law, she said, there is but one law, one principle, one cause, and one source of power. And if you break that down a little bit, she says there's one law. Well, that one law is thought law. Everything starts from thought. One principle. Uh, what does principle mean? So I just kind of Googled it and I looked it up and I came up with this definition. Principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system, belief, or behavior. Um, Basically, thought law is the fundamental truth. It is the foundation of everything. And then she says, well, there's one source of power. Well, what is that one source of power that she's referring to? To me, the one source of power is the universe. One source of power is God. And our thoughts kind of connect us to the infinite power of God, the universe. And we'll kind of talk more about that in later chapters of the book. But for now, really, we're just talking about the importance of thought law. That is the baseline for everything. And that's pretty much what she wants to emphasize. Another quote from the book I kind of want to read that's kind of really highlights and really emphasizes and drives home what thought law is this quote. The world without is merely a reflection of what you have acknowledged as true in your world within. So if the state of your health or finances is not all you desire, you must look within yourself for cause. So let's kind of break down that paragraph. The world without is merely a reflection. So what is the world without? The world without is your circumstances right now. You know, how are your finances? How is your health? How is your key relationships doing? Are they as good as they can be? And they are a reflection of what your past thoughts were. Not only your past thoughts, but what you believed as true. You can just have random thoughts, that's fine, but do you really believe in your thoughts? You know, a lot of people get caught in poverty because they believe that they don't have any control. It's somebody else's fault. I didn't perform such and such a way because of another circumstance. What she's basically saying in this quote is, you are the master of your fate. What you have in your life right now is a true reflection of everything that you thought and felt in the past. And if you don't like it, then you need to really start changing those thoughts. If I had to sort of summarize this particular chapter, I guess what I got out of it really is, if you really believe that thoughts are principle, that is the fundamental foundation for everything, then we should really spend some time studying that, really analyzing what are we thinking, how are we feeling. And most of the time throughout the day, we're sort of set in autopilot. We're distracting ourselves from our thoughts. We do it through social media, through watching TV, through listening to other people's thoughts, listening to what preachers tell you, listening to what psychologists tell you, listening to what commercials on TV tell you. A lot of times we're very uncomfortable with our thoughts even. You know, we'll sit down and we'll drink a few beers, we'll smoke some marijuana or whatever, but you're constantly kind of running from your thoughts. You're not actually understanding the importance that you have within yourself to create a whole new life for yourself. You really have to understand and believe that thought law is principle. It is the foundation. If you don't get that, then it's not really worth reading the rest of the book, reading the other chapters that actually build upon thought law, that actually give you the tools to be a more effective thinker so that you can change your life. To me, you really need to put special emphasis on this. You really have to really believe in this. If you don't, if you believe that your life is out of your control, it's just a matter of circumstances, it's a matter of luck, that some people are wealthy and have a good, happy relationship while others don't, that you're not taking any responsibility. You got to take responsibility for your life. If you don't like where you're at right now, the first step is taking responsibility. And it's also believing that you can make changes into your life. I think right now, in today's world, nobody really talks about this, the importance of your own thoughts. In fact, people are really uncomfortable with it. They don't even know what to do with their thoughts. They're anxious. They have mental health issues. Mental health is the big trigger word right now. Everybody's talking about mental health, how important mental health is. But all these people are talking about mental health. All these psychologists, psychiatrists, are they really talking to you about how to think, how to take command of your life? To me, that's the last thing that they talk about. There may be some good ones out there. I'm not going to shit on all psychiatrists and psychologists, but for the most part, I don't think they're telling people that what their power is, that they are connected to God, that they can control their thinking. They can actually start thinking better, more positively. And there's systems in place to actually start moving in the direction that makes you more happy. Mental health takes work. It's not a pill. It's not a drug that you take that solves all your problems. It's not running away from your life by being distracted by watching an aimless movie. It actually takes work. I mean, think of mental health like physical health. If you are 30, 40 pounds overweight because you've been doing all the wrong things and you don't exercise, your body's going to wither. It's going to get out of shape. Well, if you spent the last 20, 30 years of your life not thinking positively, not taking any accountability for your thoughts, you're going to be anxious. You're going to have mental health issues. It takes work. It's uncomfortable to sit down for a minute or two a day and really analyze your life and actually block out everything that you perceive in your life as bad and recognize you have the power to change your perception on anything that you look at. Any circumstance in your life, you can look at in a more positive slant if you want to. Many people will actually look at it from a negative side vantage point, and it just keeps on snowballing. That negative vantage point of their life at right now snowballs other circumstances. It actually makes you think more and more negatively, and you start snowballing downhill. Well, the opposite's true. If you start thinking more positively in a more positive direction, there's momentum behind that, and actually your life starts to improve. So to me, this is important. It's something I try to teach my kids. It's something I keep trying to remind myself. As a matter of fact, when I feel scared or anxious, to me, I start waking up because I really believe that thoughts are powerful. I almost do whatever I got to do to put myself in a better mood, switch my thoughts in a different direction, because I know, at least intuitively, that if I start going down in a bad way and I start feeling sorry for myself, or I start feeling anxious, or I start having anxiety, more and more bad things start coming to my life. I start attracting more and more bad events. It actually scares the daylights out of me. I want to stop it midstream. So I've already learned to shift my thinking in a more positive direction. I hope that people get this book and just start reading that first chapter. Read that first chapter. It's only 3 or 4 pages. Read it 10, 15, 20 times over. Really start digesting it. Really understand that you have the power to control your life and change your life. And it starts from thought law. It starts with your thoughts. There's a lot more to it than that. But if you don't get the basis first, if you don't get this underlying foundation, that clear understanding that you have control, it's going to be very hard for you to kind of build upon the things that we're going to be learning about in the next chapters. So if you like what we've talked about so far, we're actually going to be building from this in future chapters. We're going to be talking about consciousness, concentration, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the universal mind. And basically, we're going to be building upon that basic premises of what we talked about now, thought law. So if you like where we're going, if you have any comments, thoughts, please put them down below and like and subscribe.